With the retention line going higher and higher, and all the new scenarios and skills, I feel like it's a great time to update my guide about the team trials to stay in Class 6. If you are struggling, I'll help you get into the retention line, starting with which careers you need to go for, the skills you should take, which UMAs you should use, and lastly, what decks you need to use for the career runs. If you have watched my previous guide for team trials or any other content creator guides regarding team trials content, you will already know that the main strategy for team trial mode stays the same. We want to stack as many skills as possible, mainly the gold skills, and just proc them. This is because gold skill will give you 1200 points for each proc, and white skill gives you 500 points for each proc. So it becomes a game of whoever procs more skill gains more point and get higher team trial score. It's just that simple. Starting off with the biggest change of the parenting side, Summer Gold Chip is an automatic lock on your parent. It doesn't matter for which distance rack you are building. If you are building a team trial UMA, you need to have Summer Gold Chip as a parent. The reasoning is simply because of her unique inherit 564 that automatically activates any gold skill in your UMA when activated. This is simply broken for team trials and will allow you to rack up free points. If you want to maximize the point gain for every UMA in your team, every UMA definitely needs the 564 inherit. Okay, next up is the scenario choice. There's literally two options for this, which is the Unity Cup and Grand Life scenario, and there's no right or wrong answer. It all depends on the cards that you have and the scenario you are more comfortable running with. I will discuss each scenarios and the decks alongside with it, and you can decide later on which career you are more comfortable to go for and choose it from there. Unity Cup rework makes the career viable simply because you can do D with maxing strat and run 6 with card to stat pad and gain UG to UF rank while maintaining a very high wit, which is really important for activating skills. Because the higher your wit status, the lower the chance that you fail your wit check for the skill, and in return, you just simply activate more skills. This is also really nice because running 6 wit card will allow you to get a lot of wit rainbow training clicks, and as a result, you also get a lot of skill points in return. A lot of skill points also means you will have tons of skills in return. There's only one requirement for this though. The question is, do you have 6 MLB SSR with card? If the answer is no, then you can skip this section and go into the Grand Life Scenario section in the video, which is more free-to-play friendly. Okay, I might be going a little bit overboard there with the deck requirement here, but you still definitely need very strong wit cards. At the minimum, it's going to be at least 2 MLB SSR wit card of your own. This can be Nice Nature, Fine Motion, or Mr. CV. Then you can go for a deck of 6 wit cards with 4 MLB wit card, that is the 2 wit cards you have, a borrow, the free Rice Shower wit card that we recently just get, and the SR cards of Agnes Tachyon plus Marvel's Sunday wit card. These SR cards can also be changed to the welfare event cards of Mihono Bourbon for frontrunners and Mejuro Dober for the late surgers. The way to play it is also super brain dead and simple. You just focus on the card pawn at the start of a career and then simply click with over and over until the end of the career. You will never run out of energy because with training recovers your energy. Obviously, I'm oversimplificating this a lot because in the actual career, there will be some death turns with no rainbow trainings, and you can do some races on those turns. But that's like the only option that will differ in the career. Otherwise, mostly you will just spam the wit clicks and get max wit from the career. You might wonder now, if there is any variation in the decks between distance, for example, for the long distance track, we might use any stamina cards. The answer is simply no. The deck for Unity Cup in all distance is simply the same 6 with maxing card deck. This is the only viable option because it pads your rating and it's simply the best for activating the most skills. Wait, where do I get my stamina from then? You might ask. Well, you simply don't. You will get them from the gold recovery skills. If we take a look at the UMAs of the top tier team trial players, literally they are running 500 stamina UMAs and like 2 to 3 gold recovery per UMA. The recommended stamina for long distance is about 1000 to 1200, but once again, in team trials, you don't even need to win the race to get the points. We are only here to activate the most skills. So even if you miss the gold recovery and did not finish the race for your Uma, but you still activate a lot of skills, your long team trial Uma will still rack up a lot of points. Rush Shower with card gives you cooldown in Unity Cup if you pick her team, so you just need an Uma that has 1 gold recovery or 2 gold recovery innate like Super Creek to help you meet the stamina requirement. There are also a lot of good options for this, but some good ones are namely Super Creek, the New Year TM Opera O, Fantasy Crest Wonder, Saturn Diamond, which I will discuss more later on in the Umas of Choice section. Now that we've got the long distance covered, does the deck change for any other distance? The answer is simply once again no. For medium distance, you just need to reduce the cold recovery skill of choice to 1 and just get 500 to 600 stamina. You can also replace this with like 2 to 3 wide recovery skills and a bit of upper stam. Just be sure to make it roughly about 800 stamina so you must have a chance to win the race. As for the mall distance, it is roughly 600 stamina, and for the sprint distance, it's pretty much non-existent, but you will have enough stamina, so there's not much to be covered on that department. It's just a matter of getting the correct skills for the correct distance, and you're good to go. The parents for the Unity Cup can be Cool Chip and anyone who has lots of White Spark skills that can give you more skills. As for the main sparks, you can go for Witstat to increase your wit cap due to the new inheritance mechanic and rating pad your Uma, or simply do another spark like speed or power. It doesn't really matter that much. The amount of white spark from skills are more important than the main spark stats itself. We want as many skills as possible that we can buy for cheap, and some of them will definitely come from the inheritance spark. The stats requirement if you are running the with maxing deck will look something similar to this. 1200 on speed, 400 to 600 stamina. Well, it's basically any stamina you get from the career, and then you'll adjust the stamina with the gold skill that you can purchase. The power is also any number of power you get from the career. Guts is also any number that you get from the career. And ideally, for the wit stat, is a max wit stat, which is 1800. That is the wit cap of the Unity Cup. One last thing to remember is the recommended stamina for every distance, so you can adjust the gold recovery skill or white recovery skill for this. For sprint, it's non-existent as you will have enough stamina anyway. For mile, it's roughly 600 stamina. For medium, it's about 800. And for long distance, it's about 1000 to 1200. Okay, that's it for the Unity Cup scenario. Now we move on to the Grand Life scenario option, which is hopefully should be more accessible to people because the current Agnes Tachyon and Light Hello banner is up, and hopefully you guys part on it and you got lucky on getting both cards, unlike a certain someone who did 480 rolls for a single Agnes Tachyon copy. Yes, that's me by the way, and I'm still heavily salty about it. Anyways, bad lucks aside, I do hope everyone has their Light Hello SSR card, which is the scenario tax. Moving on to the decks, we will be running 3 speed, 2 wit cards, and 1 Light Hello. This is the best and the recommended format for the Grand Life scenario. This gives the best outcome for reading, activating skills, and the stat distribution in general. For those of you who skipped the Unity Cup section and didn't watch the stamina requirement, I will repeat it briefly here. We'll still be running careers that result in 500 stamina because we will get the stamina for medium and long distance races from your gold recovery skill or your white skills. The recommended stamina for sprint once again is non-existent, and for mile distance is roughly 600, while for medium it's about 800. So this will be 500 to 600 stamina and 1 gold recovery or 3 white recovery skills. As for long distance, it's about 1000 to 1200 stamina, and you will get 500 to 600 stamina and 2 to 3 gold recovery to pad this to meet your stamina requirement. I'm pretty sure some of you have also seen the speed and stamina deck version for rating padding, and while this has a crazy stat line and rating for team trials, the problem is the very low wit stat that this deck provides. So you will not activate most of the skills that you buy, and this is a huge problem. What is the point of buying these skills if you are not going to activate them and lose points anyway? Enough yapping of that, let's discuss the deck and card combination that you can run for the speed and with maxing deck. The staple format for the deck will look something like this for every distance track. It will be speed against Tachyon, Hitasan Black, a speed card, 2 with cards, and a light hello, the usual deck that we build for ace runs. Literally nothing differs from it. The only difference will be the speed card and wit card that you use for the gold skill that it provides. If you are building frontrunners, your deck will be locked into something like this, with the additional of Summer Marzenski and with Mihono Bourbon. Summer Maru is just one of the best speed card at the moment for fronts, and it provides gold skill for fronts, so it's a no-brainer option to pick Summer Marzenski. Mihono Bourbon also is very broken for team trials if you train on Grand Life scenario. Mihono Bourbon gives you concentration for free if you run her in the deck when picking her at the end of the career. Concentration is really strong because it gives you an extra 1000 point for the strong start due to the team trial mechanics. The last slot is a flex wit card. It can be a very strong wit card like Find Motion to help pad your wit stats, or track dependent wit card like Karin Chan for sprint distance for its gold skill, or even SR cards like Macro Sunday if you don't really have any strong MLB SSR cards. For every other style, if you just want to close your eyes for the speed card because you don't have any good speed card that you have, you can go for the free Mihono Bourbon speed card that we recently just got from the 1.5 anniversary event. This also will give you concentration at the end of the career. Just remember to pick the Mihono Bourbon one instead of the Agnes Taxion option. Obviously, if you have other better cards for the specific distance like Taiki Shuttle for training small distance track, then you can use it. Or if you just want to start path with your strong speed card like Fukukitaru, Biko, Bakushin, etc., you can also do it that way. There's also the option of running Kawakami Princess as well for the cheap gold skill center stage, but I believe the free Mihono Bourbon speed card is more accessible to a lot of players because it's simply free and it's given out at this moment. The usual SR speed card like Sweep Tosho also works as a replacement if you are also a new player and you don't have access to Kito-san Black like the veterans player. Just borrow Agnes Tachyon instead. She is quite important for this scenario and you're good to go. The wit cards are really style dependent. If you are training a base chaser, just add in fine motion into the mix, and the last slot will be a flex wit card. You can put any cards on this. The wit Marvelous Sunday wit card is good. If you have stronger cards like for example Nakayama Festa, you can also fit that in. If you have also other MLB SSR cards to get higher with stat, you can also put that in. There's like Mr. CB, Nice Nature MLB, etc. If you're training a late surger, just add in Nice Nati into the deck, and also Major Double Welfare card if you have her for her cheap gold skill. If you're training an encloser, just get Mr. CB into the deck for the Dating Strike gold skill and its good training effect. The last with card flex option is also the same as the Page Chaser. You can run a very strong wit card here, or any wit card that works in your favor. One thing to remember are that these decks are just recommendation, so you can adjust the speed card and wit cards that make sense to your card inventory. There are a lot of welfare cards that are quite usable as well, so you don't really need to sweat it that much. If you, for example, do not have Kita-san Black, you can change it with some of the speed SSR welfare card. Parent Spark is definitely stamina here. You need stamina from parents, otherwise you get no stamina at all from this scenario, and this will be a huge headache for the longer distance track. Running Stamina Spark usually nets you roughly 500 to 600 stamina by the end of the career, which is more than enough. You can cover the rest from the gold and white recovery skills. The only exception for this is sprint distance because you don't need stamina, so you can run any sparks that you like, either speed, power, or wit. Stat recommendation will look something like this. We definitely want max speed, which is 1600, 500 to 600 stamina, whatever you can get from these stamina sparks. Power, roughly 1000, and you will simply get this naturally from clicking so many speeds in your career. Any amount of cuts is fine, and also ideally over 1000 on width. The higher the width that you can get, obviously the better. I would try to aim for it to be over 1200 if you can, but if you have weaker cards, then this is definitely hard, so you don't need to sweat it that much. So, after discussing both scenarios, I will give my insight and thoughts on what I think the best way to approach which scenarios to choose for this. It will be a mix of Unity Cup and Grand Life scenario. You build the sprint until medium Umas in Grand Life and do the long distance Umas in Unity Cup. Unity Cup is specifically good for the long distance because It gives you cooldown gold skill from the welfare rush shower with card. And due to this, you only need to get an Uma with 1 gold recovery skill innate into their kit and pretty much you're good to go. And you can also experience both of the with Maxing World in Unity Cup and Grand Life playthrough since it's new and fresh and you can enjoy the scenario. This way, it's a win-win in my book. The next section are skills. There are some gold skills that are better than the others to get. For example, very cheap and easy to activate skills like Center Stage that comes from the Speed Kawakami Princess card. I've also already mentioned, but concentration is one of the most OP skills for team trials as well because it's worth 2,200 points for a single gold skill due to the team trials mechanic. But you don't need to sweat it that much as the normal decks and their gold skills can already net you class 6. These are sort of for the min-maxers that they count the skill points worth of the skills and adjust the decks to it to max their scores in the end. Just remember one thing if you are planning on building your own deck and choosing the SSR cards for their gold skill, always pick gold skill that are easy to activate and will always activate just needing the wit check. These are your generic gold skill that doesn't need complicated position to activate and are pretty easy to activate like Professor of Curvature. The last thing you want is a gold skill that you bought but never activates because it's too hard to activate, and that's a minus point in your UMA because the gold skill is a burden. Okay, the last section is the UMAs of choice. Honestly, for the UMAs of choice, it doesn't really matter that much unless it's for medium or long distance where you need the gold recovery skill innate to the UMAs itself. You'll only need the specific UMA to just have a good distance aptitude for the track itself, and you're good to go. There's a lot of UMAs you can pick from the pool as umamusume has extended the list of UMAs you can run now. However, there's still some UMAs that are recommended for each style and I'll help you narrow it down. For the sprint distance, these are the 6 UMAs that are frequently used in the sprint distance and they are also the easiest to build simply because they are either strong on the distance or they have good aptitudes with it. If you are a free-to-play player, the most accessible option will still be Bakushin and Airgroove and a plus one that you can pick from the pool, or you can force other aptitude UMAs into the sprint distance, but these are the recommended ones. For the mile and medium distance, this is the most flexible pool of UMAs that you can pick from. You can literally run any UMAs that you like, given they have a good distance aptitude for it. There is so much good UMAs to pick from, and personally, I just believe to run your favorite UMAs here, it doesn't really matter that much. Just meet the stamina check for mile and medium distance. Remember that you can also supplement the stamina with wide recovery skills if you don't want to go for gold recovery skill innate UMAs. Something like 600 stamina and 2 to wide recovery skill is enough for the medium distance. For the long distance track, this track is the least variable out of them all, and mostly people build the ace in Unity Cup. This is simply due to the excess of cooldown gold skill from Rice Shower with card. However, the options are Super Creek, TM Opera O, Saturn on Diamond, and Summer Gold Ship. To be fair, you can also use any UMAs that have gold recovery innate skill, but these are what the top players are running, so I'm putting them here. Four of the UMAs that I've mentioned here simply have gold recovery skill innate into their kit and are plenty good for the long distance track. That's why they are suited here. Summer Ghost Ship is probably the only odd one out there as she doesn't have enough stamina from the gold recovery skill. But she's just there because of her unique to proc gold skills because her 564 activate 2 gold skill if it's the main unique and that will net you a lot of point in return. Lastly, we also have third distance rack. Third distance is also super straightforward. You just use any UMA that have good aptitude for the third distance. This could be anyone who can fit into it, like El Pasa, Smart Falcon, the new release Kopanoriki, Harurara, Marusensky, and Taiki Shuttle. Just anyone who have good dirt aptitude or needs a little bit of tuning so they can run in the dirt while distance races. Okay, that's it. I hope this video helped you in reading Class 6 in-game trials. This was a very long guide and a very needed updated guide as I saw a lot of people was struggling with team trials, so I decided to remake it. If you have any questions, you can ask me in my Discord server, link in the description down below. As always, thanks for watching Tutorial here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.